Today we are going to talk about the primordial sovereign dragon Hydro. There are very few primordial dragons well known, but between them two come together on the next banner. And Etong's no coincidence. May Morax and Neuvillette be so dear to the community. Today we are going to talk about what? Let's talk about the evolution of the character, the love that today. You have the people, if it's worth the cone and the weapon that many of you will be telling me. Phil, I already have Neuvillette Chero because it's the best carry in the game, but I feel like playing the game. Injured from Mavuika, Sitlali, or better things that may come in the future. A wild cone from Neuvillette Part Die. How much can it be worth? And above all, you know that in the community right now is the dilemma that Mavuika can match or overcome Neuvillette. I mean, the Pyro Archon is going to be a Pyro carry. Also, and very good support if it's a 5-star Xiangling. But people are saying, if Mavuika improves Neuvillette, then will it be worth investing in Neuvillette cone or weapon? We're going to watch today's video, so I'm done plotting and talking as well as expectantly. Short and slow. Leave a good like, a good Neuvillette ultimacy, subscribe, leave a good thank you for enjoying and watching the video, the channel. Thank you for all the. Remember that it costs you nothing, that it is free, that I recommend position to the video, that the entire team of the channel will be eternally grateful, and that besides, if you are eating, make it very rich and enjoy the video very much as you recharge energy for the day. And just by commenting, subscribing with bell and giving like to the video, you participate once a day for a lunar blessing. If that blessing will help you for that cone of Neuvillette, Mavuika, Sitlali, or the most difficult times the free-to-play ever lived in Ancient Impact. Alright, Neuvillette got to 4.1 on Fontaine already does up. A great potential was noted and denoted. In betas, it occurred as the theory of times and is that the teams that were played in the betas were definitely not the most played teams of Neuvillette and much less the strongest. But they did come to intuit that the electrocharged they were going to be a great improvement with Neuvillette, and that Neuvillette was a character who had the potential, damage, survival, which is very important and easy to move while you hit. Unlike melee characters who have to expose themselves of being able to sunny halls. There was a Bufo, of course, very strong at his damage. For example, when Kinnish came out, he also benefited, but the test of fire is when these buffos to the damage of the banner character disappear, and there are buffos that do not benefit you, if you can keep doing it, and indeed Neuvillette could have kept doing it until a little while ago. That are setting again records of damage in the abysses. Every new abyss has new record, total amount of life, and then Neuvillette, for example, in this abyss has it a little bit complicated, not impossible, but it is no longer that any Neuvillette Chero weapon 4 stars. At least now for Neuvillette to use the abysses. If you want me to use it, it has to have a cone weapon and a very good construction. Understanding of artifacts that is complicated because sometimes the helmet can vary due to critical damage or in a very specific and punctual situation with a very specific equipment, and depending on of the C2 of Shilonen can lead Kali of life. But it is very concrete and not all have the situation to play it like this. Neuvillette very well established DPS carry by Genshin Impact. To begin with, it's broken, or it's not broken, it's broken, it's the best carry in the game if you don't have it. It is worth taking him out of Chero. If you're free to playing right now, you know everything that's coming, you'll be. But the question has an easy answer. Neuvillette is the only carry that I would say throughout the game that is worth. Remember that I always say supports are eternal. The carries are temporary. That even Alekino, I said it in time, could be elusive and right now Mavuika arrived who powered Alekino as carry Pyro on his same teams, and has Meltas that improve it, but Neuvillette is unscathed. Now, the evolution of Neuvillette, it was very easy because at first it was played effectively electrocharged by the tests of beta, then evolved to play monohydros and tested some Neuvillette teams of Lepita Man Super Bloom with Neuvillette, Nahida, Deya, and Cookie, which is a very powerful team. But it didn't become popular, but it benefited from Dehire's restriction and interruption if it didn't. You had the cone. Then you stabilized and played a lot of Neuvillette, Fiorina, Nahida, Cookie, Huipa, Bloom plus Neuvillette, damage plus Hyper Bloom core damage. A savage, spectacular and all that evolved into Seguin. And you'll say Seguin in this video? Yeah, I think Seguin was set up as a test project to what extent Neuvillette Monohydro could be too broken to be absurd and brought to Seguin. Seemed to be a Neuvillette equipment support because it gives us rare buffs that do not combine with no character in general except Seguin, who gives us literally chalices for Neuvillette. Calices used by Neuvillette and the Traveler Hydro gives us a bonus of damage and skills. Team Elementals, i.e. Fiorina, is on this team and would do more damage with her ability. Elemental and gives us a C2 that reduces resistance to Sidron 35% of enemies, so that Fiorina and Neuvillette did more damage. Zia gave us the testing of a pure Neuvillette Hydro Monkey, something that even date now we had Raiden's Mono Electro. The Mono Dios may be from Ito and a little weird from Mil. Ship with Fiorina Bennett, we had Zoe Mono Anemus from Scaramouche and wanted to go for the Gia. Well, he didn't succeed, but at 5.1 after testing the limit he could reach. Neuvillette with Seguin after very few people in the community took out Seguin C2 for play Monohydro with Neuvillette and besides be able to buff Neuvillette with the set of Son of Yesteryear. Silone and Sita 2, not only does Achero the same thing as Katsuha. If you do a reaction with Hydro, gives 40% of Hydro Elementary Year to all the Hydros on the team. Low resistances like Kazuha can be combined with Kazuha. But is that the C2 too? Plus it gives 45% of life to the character's Hydro on that team to Fiorina and Neuvillette has ease for you to overtake the ratio, and once you overtake the ratio above 250 damage and probability, because what you can, Neuvillette can actually overtake and reach 80, 85 or more probability, it's going to hurt you more all your life. It gives more damage above the critical ratio once you're over, and you're over 250 of damage. And indeed, Shilonen enabled us the best team in Genshin Impact. Neuvillette's story. It's short but very intense. Now, does it deserve Neuvillette as such to Ashero? Yes, the cone and the gun. Well, Neuvillette has a very interesting roof, more than DME. We thought with the gun of the Battle Pass, but the gun of Battle Pass R5. I mean, it's 5 months, well, 5 versions. Sorry, that would be over half a year playing Genshin, though already that weapon exists more than a year and a half ago. And 10 battle passes would be $50 divided into $5. And it's your second best weapon, so it's not really yours. Indispensable, but of course your weapon is the weapon that most damage by rotation can reach you. But unlike other characters, you can use 4-star weapons that suit you. Apart from this, the weapon itself passes only to run, you will improve it over time. It is also very well with what the gun really. Now I compare it to the cone to see which one is more important. Because this Neuvillette weapon will certainly come with Zhongli's weapon, which is the Vortex Bankisher, which will be here, and that spear is a spear that is useless. It can practically serve Shenhe if any, but Shenhe with constellations. And Shenhe does a lot that doesn't come, and many don't even know how to play it. Attack, and it's not played like that. Then really the weapon could come down in priority, but of course it'll give a very high roof Neuvillette and come down. It's just that now you tell me, Phil, but tell me other 4-star guns, that's the build. If this isn't the build, it's what happens to Neuvillette. And the one that happens to Neuvillette is usually the one that's worth it. Always character. Cone gives us resistance to infinite interruption. Here we are no longer taking away the loader, because to Chero, if you do not carry a shield, or you do not move very well, or you are not willing to. Having patience to start rooms, when you're interrupted you lose all the damage. Because you absorb the chalices but they interrupt you, so all the time you're hitting. And you usually lose it easy if you don't wear a shield or it's Chero. That cone resistance to interruption for Neuvillette of the cone is powerful, but the cone, what it does apart from that is give you one more stack of the 3 stacks of Ascension talent. Neuvillette, that gives you more damage inflicted on the charged by each Hydro reaction. That with 2 Hydro reactions in any equipment practically, because the Electro-charged have, well, the Electro-charged with the Whirlwind or that. If you go with a Hyper Bloom, then you have a Bloomin. If you go in the Mono Hydro, you have a Crystallized Shilonen and a Whirlwind of Katsuha, and so on. Well, this cone makes you always activate the 3rd stack with only 2 reactions and gives you more than 20% damage inflicted on your cargoes. Is cone worth over the gun? Is C2 worth it? Luckily, And this time you're not talking much in the community and you've never talked about it. Neuvillette C2 is pretty unnecessary because it mainly gives you more critical damage. But Neuvillette is left with the critical damage. If the C2 instead of the critical damage gave her more life percentage, then it would be an incredible C2, and we would have a lot more damage. Above exceeding the critical damage of 250 is going to add more damage obviously, but not so much. I mean, it's not a C2 that's strong, and lastly in priority after cone. If the gun would go, and in no case would you plant the C2. If you are Wales, the C3. Because the C3 gives you the SAO. This is all that happens with Neuvillette. As I say, a short but intense story, and to this day, is the best carry of the game until the departure from Mavoika, who say that with some specific melt equipment can improve Neuvillette. Personal opinion, I commented in some live videos that the gameplay of the bike, that well the 4 beta, I don't like it because maximum damage by rotation in theory is going to be giving loops. That is over I make like drift and circle because I do not like it. In general, yeah. Like I said in other videos, I'm gonna pretend to play and do all Mavoika's guides. Carry for whoever wants it. And of course the caressed and weaponized in carry equipment with it, which I will play perfectly with everything well armed in its optimal DPS conditions for. Bring you all in comparisons of normal versus charged attacks, but then in the long run I'll play it. So Neuvillette for whoever it is and all the funnels on the bike there has been. Don't like the bike and don't want to play Mavoika DPS, you can still have your 2 best DPs. Alikino Neuvillette and Guara Mavoika of support of Kinish, Mwalani, of a Raiden National, with steroids because it will be much stronger with Mavoika etc. So little more. Wait for the build, I know you want it, and I'll talk about the rest of the guns. 4 stars, I'll talk about the teams, although you know there's only one I'll talk about. The construction, I will talk about life. I will talk about the KPOs of critical proportion and of which helmet. You must wear it according to how you carry Neuvillette, your equipment, and your weapon. And a little bit more. Thank you for all the video. If you like it, give a like, share, and subscribe. If you liked it, give a like. And if you like it, give a like, share, and subscribe. And if you like it, give a like, share, and subscribe. And if you like it, give a like, share, and subscribe. And if you like it, give a like, share, and subscribe. And if you like it, give a like, share, and subscribe. I'm sorry.